Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Natalia Leigh. I am an indie author and the managing editor at Enchanted Ink Publishing, and it has been probably about 6 or 8 weeks, hey Mew, since I sat down and filmed a video, since I filmed a vlog, anything like that. So I figured today we would do a little bit of an update. I posted on my community center asking for any questions you guys might have for me, and I did get a few, so I'm going to go through those questions, tell you what has happened in the 6 or 8 weeks I've been gone, and catch you up on what I am working on currently. Mew is hanging out with me, which is wonderful. She is usually lying in bed. She is an older girl now, so it's really nice when she comes out and hangs out with me. So we have Mew, we have some kombucha, I've got my laptop here, and we're gonna do a Q&A and a general update with my books, what I've been working on, and kind of what's coming up here in the near future. So thank you for joining me, and let's dive into an update. So a quick little addition to the video, I just went to my P.O. box today, and Lisa, I want to say thank you so much for sending me the lovely letter and the birthday gift. I definitely teared up while I was reading this, and I plan to write you back. I'm not sure how long this has been in there. I am kind of slow about going to my P.O. box, so thank you again, Lisa. I really appreciate you, and you can expect to receive a letter back from me very soon. If I'm remembering correctly, the last video I put out, I want to say I had just started working on book 3 in my paranormal romance trilogy, and book 2 was not yet out. Well, book 2 has been out for almost a month now. It came out at the beginning of March. Now we have 2 books here. These are the 2 books in my new paranormal romance trilogy. I have had so much fun writing this trilogy, learning how to write a series, because this book, book 2, is the first ever book 2 that I have published. If you've been following along with me for a while, you might know that I have written and rewritten Whiskey City multiple times. Whiskey City is book 2 in my Pistol Daisy quartet that I have planned, and that book just still has not come together. But I thought that I was kind of stuck in this place of like, will I ever be able to write a series if I like cannot get a book 2 written? I have officially dug myself out of that hole. I have books 1 and 2 published in my paranormal romance trilogy, and I am this close at this point to finishing the first draft of book 3. In terms of book 3, the process feels like it has been very, very slow. And I don't know if that's because the process has actually been slow, or if it just feels slow because the other book I'm working on, my contemporary romance, has just been coming together so much faster, or it might feel slow because work has been a lot. It has been very heavy, you know, back to back editing clients. I have back-to-back clients for the rest of the year and into the beginning of 2025. And with no time off in between, it is kind of just like a constant grind. You know, like any full-time job, I'm just constantly working at that, managing the business Monday through Friday. So that takes up the majority of my brain power. Monday through Friday is really dedicated to EIP and to managing that business and editing for my clients. So all of those things kind of combined have contributed to me feeling like book 3 is just dragging. I have really felt like it has been such a slog. Like I have been trapped in mud, and every time I sit down to write, I'm like barely putting 500 words on the page. I know, my love. But there have been changes recently that I have made that have really allowed me to, there are changes I've made that have allowed me to get a lot more words on the page and to feel more comfortable and more cheerful while I'm doing it. I have always been a morning person. I've always been a morning person. Like right now it is 7:30, and for me, I'm tired at this point. You know, long day of work, it's 7:30 on a Friday night, and I'm tired and ready to wind down. But what I was doing up until about a week or a week and a half ago was I was trying to write at night after doing a full day of editing, after, you know, cooking dinner, feeding the horses, doing house stuff. I was then trying to sit down and work on book 3 in a trilogy. And I know that that works for some people, you know, especially people whose, you know, like witching hour is late at night and they just kind of come alive and can really write at that time of day. But for me, I was really going against the grain, and I was going against who I am and who I have always known myself to be. And I was recently watching one of Caitlin Duncan's videos. I will link her down below, and she was talking about how she has a period between like 5 to 7 a.m. where she writes, and it kind of clicked. I was like doing dishes and watching her video, and I was like, why am I trying to force myself to write at night after I have worked all day when I know I am exhausted? And, you know, I was even making myself kind of like resent the work because it was making me feel like I had 2 jobs. Like I have EIP all day and then I have to write as a second job at night is what it was feeling like, instead of feeling like something I enjoyed. So after watching her video, I said, enough's enough. I'm going to start getting up a little bit earlier in the morning, and even if I just write for half an hour, it'll be half an hour. And that changed my life. And yes, it's only been like a week and a half or 2 weeks, but it really has made a huge difference for me. So now instead of kind of sleeping in, and I don't sleep in that late to begin with. The first alarm goes off at 6, second alarm goes off at 7. So if I'm not out of bed yet at 7, that's the one that says you've really got to get up and going now. But now what I have been doing is, you know, waking up usually around 6:30, making the coffee, and my brain wakes up so quickly in the morning that I can get out of bed, plug in the percolator, grab my laptop, pour the coffee, get into bed with a full cup of coffee, and I'm ready to go. That is when my mind is most active. So for me, it really clicked that I have to stop working against my brain and I have to start working with it. And I've always known I'm a morning writer. So I've been writing in the mornings lately, and the book has been coming along so much better. For a long time, I was truly struggling to get like 500 words on the page at night. And some nights, you know, many nights I wasn't even writing. Like if I was getting 1,000 words a week, that was pretty much all I could do. And now I've been consistently writing between 5,000 and like 1,400 words every morning, usually in the span of 30 to 45 minutes. So it really doesn't even take me that much time. It's about 1 to 2 cups of coffee while I'm sitting in bed with my laptop before my day has really started, and it's made a huge difference. So I guess all of that to say, I am in a better place with book 3 and with kind of working through this first draft, because I am still working on the first draft, and I originally planned to have it done at the end of February, but now we're at the end of March. Today's the 29th, and I'm hoping to finish it this upcoming week, and if not this upcoming week, the week after that. So I should be done realistically by the second week of April at this point, but I wanted it done at the end of February. So that's another thing that is making me feel like I'm going really slow, is that I just missed that deadline I had set for myself. But at this point, I am working on the like big battle, the big climactic scene, and I am about 44,000 words in. So this book is coming in a little bit shorter than book 2, but again, I am an underwriter now, and this is the first draft, so I know I will add to it in the second draft. And I also know that I have a couple of scenes that I did not finish, and I just like left a note to finish scene here, so those will need to come together as well. But yeah, I'm sitting at about 44,000 words on this one right now. I'm thinking it's gonna wrap up at about 50K. So that is where we are at with book 3. That book is currently scheduled to come out like mid to late July. But the thing with this one is, even though it's been going really slow, or I feel like it has been, I do feel that this is the strongest book in the trilogy. I feel like there is so much more action, so much more conflict. And those are two things that tend to be, those two things and dialogue tend to be my weak points in my own writing. So the fact that I feel like there is a lot of action, the conflict is just rolling along, and I have not yet written something where I have sat back and thought, wow, that was boring. Because when I was writing book 2, I had some moments like that. And if you guys have been following me, you might know that I had to kind of do a huge structural developmental edit on book 2 back in November for Nano, because that book just, it wasn't right. Like, there were a lot of things that needed to be moved around. And I do think it paid off, because I was worried publishing that, thinking like, oh my gosh, people are going to see these weaknesses in the book and they're really not going to like it, and it's going to be so much worse than book 1. But it's actually had a pretty positive reception, potentially even more than book 1, which I wasn't expecting. So that has been a nice surprise, and I'm really hoping that readers enjoy book 3 even more than books 1 and 2, because the action is really just like chugging along in book 3, and I don't know if I've ever been able to say that about my own work before, so that's pretty cool. I don't think I'm going to have that much to do in my developmental structural revision pass. Fingers crossed. The story feels pretty solid, so the publication date I have set is very much going to be dependent on how much developmental work I need to do, because that is what is slowest for me. So anyway, moving on from that, I am working on another book right now too, a contemporary romance. I was working on this the past couple of videos I think that I posted. You can go back and see those if you are interested. That book I had to put on hold for, I think, pretty much all of February and pretty much all of March. I have just picked it back up again, and that's not for a lack of wanting to work on it. I have really, really wanted to work on it, but I needed to prioritize book 3 in my trilogy, because I knew that if I did not commit fully to that, I was really not going to be able to hit the pre-order deadline that I've set. And I don't want to get penalized by KDP for missing a pre-order. So I was not allowing myself to work on my contemporary romance, because my paranormal romance really needed my time and effort. But recently, this past week, I have started working on my contemporary again. And the reason I've been able to do that is because of my switch to writing my paranormal in the morning, because that third book in the paranormal romance trilogy, that one feels much harder to write. I think the genre is harder to write because it is paranormal, but it's also historical, and that for me is not as fast. I cannot write a historical book as quickly as I can write a contemporary that takes place in a world I know. And I didn't realize that was a thing until I started writing my contemporary. But now that I am prioritizing morning time for the hard writing and like getting those words done for the day, I now have a bit of time in the evening for what I would consider fun writing, and that is my contemporary romance. So I have been working on it again this week. Just last night and the night before that, I returned to my outline on it, and I made a couple of small changes. Something I have noticed through outlining this whole trilogy, and then I outlined my contemporary, and then I also have a completed outline for another standalone fantasy retelling. Through doing all these outlines, and I outlined 2.5 more Pistol Daisy books. So that's a lot of outlines that I have done in the last, I don't know, 8 to 12 months maybe. Don't quote me on that, but I don't know. The majority of these happened in the last 6 to 8 months. Through doing all of those outlines, I really sharpened my skills. And if a new writer were to ask me, like, what is your #1 tip for a new writer? Nowadays, my tip would be write your first book as fast as humanly possible. Keep it short, finish it, and then write another one, and then write another one, and then write another one. And the same thing with outlining, because I have very much learned that I can write an outline and then pick at it and polish it for years on end, and I'm not going to learn that much about outlining. And I'm not going to learn that much about story structure. And the same thing with writing a book. You can write one book, in my humble opinion, you can write one book and spend 5 years of your life editing it and editing it and editing it. And if that is like the book of your heart and that is the one book that you want to write, have at it. Do what is right for you. But I have found that for me, as someone who not only wants to enjoy writing and storytelling, but wants to be able to make more of a living off of it, writing books quickly and editing them and going through the process over and over and over has really taught me so much about story structure, about outlining, about revision passes, about the whole thing. And it has allowed me to level up my skills, a lot faster than I used to be able to when I was only writing one book every like 2 to 4 years. So all that to say, Mew is stepping on my computer. I returned to this outline and I made some small changes to it that I think are really going to improve the story. And this book is currently sitting at 36,000, just over 36,000. So with this book and the other one, that's what, 44,000 about, and then 36,000. So I've written about 80,000 words since January. So in 3 months, about 3 months, I've written 80K, which is, you know, a full-length novel in 3 months. So I really have been writing. I just haven't finished either of these projects yet, but I have been working on this book again in the evenings. And this contemporary, I can sit down for 45 minutes and turn on a Taylor Swift, playlist, and I can easily write 1,400 words. And when I was fully committed to this, I was pretty easily writing 2,000 to 3,000 words a night, even after a full work day. So this book, I have a feeling that once book 3 in my trilogy is done and I am fully on the contemporary, I think I'm going to finish it in just like a number of weeks. And this one is currently up for pre-order as well, and it is supposed to come out in early November, but again, depending on how in-depth the developmental revisions are, that's going to determine when this book can come out. So if book 3 can come out a little bit earlier, maybe June, then I will probably be aiming for like maybe even a September release for my contemporary. But that's where I am with all of that. Ow, Mew is scratching me. I am now, I guess, going to switch gears into answering some questions. I got a lot of really great questions, so I'm gonna go through these. I won't spend a ton of time on, repeated questions, but let's just dive right in. First question, I would love to hear about your experience using ARC services so far. So I used an ARC service. I used 2 ARC services for books 1 and 2 in my trilogy, and they have been, they are like a cornerstone now of what my book releases are going to be. I have for many years known how important it is to get early reviews for your books, because social proof, I have been really diving into the marketing side of things. So social proof is just like floating around in my head now. I never used to think about that term, but social proof is incredibly important when it comes to selling a book. If a reader does not know you and does not trust you, they are then going to turn to other reviewers to determine if they should spend their time, effort, and money on your work. And early reviews are really important to get that social proof going. So I have used 2 ARC services. I do plan to do kind of an entire video on this, going into the services that I chose to use. Both of the services are paid services, so I had to pay, both of them have kind of like a subscription fee that you have to pay to get your book up there, and then one of them charges you per reader that they bring in as well. So it's a little bit of an investment, but honestly it was like less than $100 for both ARC services, and they were incredibly important in terms of getting that social proof rolling for my books, especially as a new author writing under a new pen name. So the ARC services have been awesome. And I'm gonna talk about those in another video because I don't think I will ever release another book without using those ARC services. A couple questions on Whiskey City. I have not touched Whiskey City in a few months now. I did completely re-outline it toward the end of 2023. I completely re-outlined Whiskey City, and then I fully outlined book 3 in the quartet, and then I did a kind of loose outline of book 4 in the quartet. So I am sitting in a really good place for my Pistol Daisy books. I just have not yet had the open space in my, I don't know, in my mental calendar to commit to working on that. So there were a couple questions about that. I really appreciate it because, again, Daisy has such a fond place in my heart, and I need and want to finish her story. And now I know where it's going, but I just have not sat down to write it yet because it'll be a full from scratch, brand new draft. I totally changed up everything in that outline. This is a great question. I'd like to know how much time to budget for each stage of editing. I know it varies, but I need some idea because it otherwise is like staring into the abyss. This is going to depend, obviously, like you said, it's gonna vary. It's gonna depend on your word count. It's going to depend on your editor and how quickly they work. Some editors work more quickly than others, just we're all individuals and we all work at different paces. But generally, I would say 4 to 6 weeks would be kind of a safe bet. Now, if you're going for a really heavy developmental edit or even a line edit, those two, in my experience, tend to take the most time because the editor is diving so deep into your work during the developmental and line editing stages that they can take a lot longer. So for those, I would say you could safely say maybe even 6 to 9 weeks. But if you have like a behemoth of a manuscript, and to me that is 150 and up. Like, we have had line editing and manuscript critique projects that are in like the 200,000 word range, and those can sometimes take 12 weeks depending on the service. So like you said, it's going to vary, but 4 to 6 kind of in general, you know, for like copy editing or potentially a manuscript critique depending on your word count. But then if you're going for a real heavy developmental edit or a line editing pass, I would bump that up to like 6 to 9 weeks just to be safe. But again, it's gonna depend on your editor and your word count. Oh, will you be doing an outlining video? I struggle with that a lot. Absolutely. Like I said earlier, I have learned so much more about my outlining process. I now use 3 or 4 like reference books, reference material, and every book has been a little bit different, but I think I have developed a really solid foundation for my outlining, and I will definitely film a video on that. Another vote for ARC services, my first and only book. I just asked friends, family, people on Facebook, and it went okay. Yeah, personally, I did that with my first books, like my very first books. Highborn, I almost forgot the name of my first book. Highborn, Way of Spears, and I don't think I did ARCs. I can't remember if I did ARCs for Song of the Dryad, but ARC services, they will change your world. Like they are really important, and they are quite affordable too, depending on the ones you pick. So I'm gonna do a video on that, but highly request looking into ARC services and picking some that are going to work for you. Like there's, you know, ARC services that are very much kind of tailored to the romance genre, which is what I'm writing in now, so it makes it a lot easier. But there are a lot of ARC services out there, and I've had some really good experiences with them. This one is about writing in the romance genre and trying to decide what genre your book really is. I think that's really hard without diving into the book and, you know, having read it. But then this question mentions that in many romances, the secondary character is given a lot of page time. I'm wondering if you mean like the love interest is given a lot of page time. And I know that in most romance books, at least most that I have read, you do get POVs from both the main and secondary characters, the love interests. Personally, my books are written from one POV. There's just something for me. I really love just staying in one point of view because I like when the love interest is mysterious. I don't like knowing everything that a love interest is thinking, and I know that that's not the case with all romance readers, but that's definitely the case with me. I like when there's a bit of a mystery about what the love interest is thinking and they're not just like revealing everything on page. So you definitely don't have to have a dual POV in order for your book to be romance, because my books definitely fall within that genre, but I only write from one POV. So if that's what you're asking, I have seen it done both ways. I have read wonderful romance books from one POV, and then I have read a lot of wonderful romance books that have dual or even more than two POVs, depending on how many love interests are in the book. Any tips on screen fatigue? I have so much experience with screen fatigue at this point. It's something that never bothered me when I was younger, but ever since that really bad bout of screen fatigue I got, I want to say like 2 falls ago. Yeah, it wasn't this past fall. I think it was the fall before that. You know, I had to take time off of work. I was having to like put ice packs on my eyes every single day. It was really, really bad. And I have found now that personally, I cannot work on the computer unless I want to strain my eyes and have, you know, a headache and eye pain. I can't work on the computer without my blue light blocking glasses. Those have made a world of difference for me. So that is an absolute necessity, is having blue light blockers on. I keep my screens slightly lower now so that I'm not having to like look up and strain my eyes and open my eyes too wide. So I have my screen slightly lower. I am really particular about the light in the room now. One of my subscribers suggested running a humidifier in the room because I have dry eye as well. So I find that that does help. So there are definitely a lot of little things, but I would definitely say blue light blockers, making sure you have a balanced amount of light in the room so that your eyes are not straining every time that you're trying to focus on your computer screen. Running a humidifier and keeping that screen low so that you're not having to open your eyes too wide. So those are a few of the things that I do now. Let's see. Question, in a previous video you mentioned opening up EIP to interns. Is that something you're still considering? I would love to open up EIP to interns. It's something that I think would be wonderful to kind of give back to the editing community. I have so many thoughts on freelance editing in general, and I have seen a lot of, I don't want to get too deep into this, but I have seen a lot of authors taken advantage of by their editors, and they pay a lot of money and don't get the service that they really deserve. And I would love to be able to bring on an intern and kind of teach them from the ground up and be able to ease somebody into the world of editing in that way, and to be able to really foster that would be a wonderful opportunity. So it's definitely something I am still interested in. However, I just don't have time right now. We actually just went through the process of, we just went through another hiring process because our editing services are booking out so heavily and so far into the future. And we have found some really wonderful editors and potential editors for the team. So that has been taking up a lot of my time, but it was really necessary. And yeah, at this point, we aren't bringing on interns, but it is something that is constantly floating around in my mind. And if that ever comes to fruition, I will definitely be sharing it here, because this community is what has allowed me to commit myself full-time to editing and really learning the craft. And it has allowed me to give back to the writers in this community. And I am so grateful for all of you being here. And for those of you who have worked with EIP, thank you so much for trusting us with your manuscripts. I know that that's really hard to do. But yeah, as soon as I'm able to actually sit down and think about what an internship would look like and how I could commit my time and energy to an intern, I will be sharing it here on YouTube. Are you planning to participate in Camp NaNo next month? I love Camp NaNo. I love all the nanos. I would love to participate next month. But next month starts on Monday. So unless I can finish book 3 by Monday, which it might happen, it's doubtful, but like it might, you never say never, then I wouldn't really be able to get a fresh start on anything in April. But I do want potentially to finish my contemporary in April. So that would be pretty cool to commit myself to for Camp NaNo. It'll just really depend on book 3 and how quickly I finish that draft. How do you keep track of what projects you're working on, and how do you track how long you've been working on a project? Is it from the moment you get the idea, when you start writing and outlining, etc.? So I generally don't really keep track of how long I've been working on a project, except in terms of timelines and planning out my publication and all of the steps that need to occur within publication. I use monday.com to track every individual writing project and where I need to be with every step of the process. And I believe Monday has a free version that you can use, and it's wonderful in terms of setting up your projects and setting up your timelines and saying, okay, I'm giving myself 2 months for this draft, then I'm going to take 2 weeks off and work on something else, then I'm going to return for another month for my, first round of developmental revisions or whatever. So that's how I track where I am in like every step of the process. But apart from that, I would say that I kind of track from when I start outlining, because I definitely block out time on my calendar now for outlining a book, because I know that it'll probably take me 1 to 2 weeks just for getting kind of the bulk of it there, and then I always tweak it along the way. But I would say, yeah, I definitely track from the start of the outline versus the start of the idea, because sometimes I have ideas floating around for a long time before I actually get to them. This is a good one. I'd love to hear about any kind of marketing or promotion you are doing as a new author. I have done a lot of things different, and I am trying a lot of new things. So let's kind of quickly go over them. Number 1 is Facebook ads. And I'm gonna try not to rant and rage about Facebook ads, because Facebook ads were working really well for me. I'll be honest, they were working well. I was getting a lot of impressions. I was getting a lot of clicks. I was driving sales. I was driving KU page reads. And then Facebook had an absolute conniption. And please, I would love to know if anybody else has had this problem, because I feel like I am floating in like a void of space where I am the only one who has this problem. But Facebook essentially flagged my account because there was strange activity on it or whatever, which is just their way of covering up the issues that they are causing on their end. So they locked my account down, and it took me about a week and a half to get them to unlock it again. And then the moment I had to pay my invoice, they locked it again, and it became a recurring issue. And this has been going on for over a month now, where every single time my payment method gets charged, they flag my account and they lock it. And it usually takes about 10 days for the support staff to unlock my account. And let me just tell you, the support staff on Meta advertising on the business suite have no clue what's going on. They literally are just there to field your questions in a different direction and distract you. That's my feeling. My last update from Facebook, they told me, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to help you solve this problem, but you can report it here at this link. Have a nice day. So after over a month of struggling with Facebook support, my account being on and off and on and off and on and off, finally they said, we just can't help you. But before that, guess what? Before that, they told me, maybe you're having a problem with your payment method. You should just ask a friend or family member to use their card. I am not kidding you. They literally told me to use a friend or family member's credit card for my business advertising expenses. So I was trying Facebook ads and they were going beautifully. But as soon as a problem occurred, the support can do absolutely nothing for you, and I am officially locked out of my Facebook ads account. And unfortunately, that means I cannot do any sort of advertising for EIP because EIP is also linked to that Facebook ads account. So I'm kind of screwed there, unfortunately. But I did try Facebook ads. If they don't absolutely ruin your day with their complete lack of support, then maybe it would work really well for you. I have been dabbling in Amazon ads. Those have not been nearly as profitable. In fact, those have had a terrible return on ad spend. I have lost money advertising with Amazon, and I'm really thinking the problem is because I don't have enough of that social proof I mentioned earlier. I don't have enough social proof to drive those sales. So even if I'm getting impressions and clicks, I'm not seeing the follow through, and I have polished my book description to the end of time. I have polished and polished and polished, and I am very happy with my book description. I absolutely love my book cover. I've got slam and A+ content. I've got good reviews. I just don't think I have enough social proof. So Amazon ads, I think, could be a thing, but for me right now, they're just not. And I think it's the social proof and the lack of reviews for the paranormal romance genre. I mean, you can easily find books in that genre with tens of thousands of reviews. So when you have way, way, way less than that, it's much harder to drive sales through ads. But I have tried that. I have tried TikTok, and I have to say, let's hope the TikTok gods aren't listening to me. I detest TikTok. It makes my brain feel like it's melting out of my ears, but I am posting on there. I'm trying to post on there 5 days a week because I know how powerful it is. So even though I really don't like it, I am posting over there. I am stuck in the 200 view jail. I'm just trying to be patient and just let the algorithm do its thing. And I'm also on Instagram, and Instagram has been slow, but I like Instagram a lot more. I'm a lot more comfortable with the slightly slower pace of Instagram versus like the breakneck pace of TikTok. Whenever I try to figure out like, okay, how do you grow on TikTok? People say post 3 to 4 times a day. And it's like, how, working full time and being like an adult human being, do you come up with the time to post 4 times a day on TikTok? And maybe that's just because I struggle with it. So it's like, it's an absolute headache just trying to build the damn video to post it on TikTok. So I could not do that 4 times a day. I just can't do it. I can't do it. But maybe other people can and they can have success. So those are the platforms I've been using. I also have been using YouTube Shorts. Those have been super easy because when I do post a TikTok, I just straight up post it there on YouTube Shorts with the watermark and everything, and I just don't even care. So those are the things that I have been doing. I have been trying hard. I have never marketed a book so hard as I have for these books. I have committed so much time and energy to marketing these, and honestly, my preference would be to put more money into ad spend and to let the ads do the work, because I am not the personality type that enjoys social media. I don't like being on it. So for those people who do enjoy it and they do like TikTok and they love that engagement and, you know, the community over there, I think that that's a better option for them. My goal was to build up my Facebook ads and to continue taking all of my revenue and dumping it into Facebook ads. But now that I'm locked out of Facebook and Amazon is a terrible, terrible return on ad spend, I don't know where that cut me off, but that is what I have been doing for marketing. I'm sorry that I got a little bit fiery on that one. I have raged on Facebook/Meta. And I'm not proud of it, but I said some very mean things in my emails to those support staff, because they are pretty much like bashing your head against a brick wall because they can't do anything for you. Then moving on. What are your favorite ways to switch gears for the day and focus on writing? I love this question because I actually have an answer for it now. When I write in the evenings, you know, of course I am writing in the mornings now, as we talked about, because that is what works best for my morning person brain. But when I do want to write in the evenings, The best way I have found to switch my focus is to take a total break from the screen. So I've been working on the screen all day doing EIP and editing clients, and I really have to leave the computer in my office, walk away. I don't even write in my office because my office is professional space. That is EIP space, so I barely ever write in there. I barely even go in there on the weekends because that's how badly I need to step away from that work just to like regenerate myself. But what I have found is I walk away, I leave the computer. I like to turn on music. I like to clean a little bit because since my husband and I both work from home, the house gets dirty throughout the day. Like we had breakfast, we have coffee cups, we have lunch, we have snacks, like it just gets dirty throughout the day. So taking time to do a little bit of cleaning, listen to some music, potentially even my writing playlist can really be helpful in terms of getting like ideas going. Going outside is a big one for me. We have been buried in feet of snow. I kid you not, feet of snow for weeks, and everything has been frozen around us since November. So it has been a very cold, snowy, rough winter, and we haven't been able to enjoy being outside very much, but we do have horses, so we are required to be outside. There goes my heat. We're required to be outside multiple times a day, and it really does help at the end of my workday to go out there and spend, even if it's cold, 10, 15, 20 minutes out there, hanging out with the horses, cleaning out the barn, filling their hay bags and stuff like that. That's really helpful. And then a really big one that helps is taking a shower. It's like I can actually wash off the day. I can wash off my work. I can wash off any sort of stress that I might be carrying with me. And it's even better if I do a little exercise before, whether it's like a video on YouTube, a yoga flow, and then I go and take a shower, and it completely revitalizes me and helps clear my brain. A little bit of exercise, a little bit of outside time, take a break from the screens, take a shower, and that is what works for me. And the last question I think is perfect to wrap this up, and it is, how are you? Is everything okay in general, and do you enjoy writing your new books? So I'll start by saying I absolutely love writing these new books. I know that the romance genre in general, gets a lot of heat, but it has revitalized my spark for writing in a way that I never realized was possible. It has opened up storylines to me, it has opened up my imagination, and I am loving it. Like the fact that I have published 2 books, I published 1 book in October and 1 book at the beginning of March, and I'm gonna do 2 more this year. Like that goes to show, while working a full-time job, that goes to show how much I enjoy these books. It doesn't feel, it's hard, but it doesn't feel as hard as it used to. But I also think that comes with practice, which is why I say, if I had to give one piece of writing advice, it would be write fast and write as many books as you can, because you're gonna learn so fast that way. But then how are you? Is everything okay in general? I am doing really well. Things have been up and down though. It has been a difficult winter. Like I said, we have been frozen for months. We had 2 really big blizzards, and just operating and taking care of our horses, who are both seniors, and Gypsy's been struggling a little bit. That has been tough. There is definitely like more burden when just dealing with the environment we live in is this difficult. So there's been that. There has been a lot of work stuff, but generally I would say the hardest thing I have gone through recently is stress about those stupid Facebook ads. I let that literally eat at me for like 5 weeks, and I need to be done. But apart from being stressed about those Facebook ads, I think the biggest thing I was stressing myself out about, and Greg had to he had to sit me down and say, we need to talk about this and about what you're doing to yourself. I was stressing out way too much about things out of my control. I was stressing out about how many reviews were going to come in, stressing out about how many page reads I could get, how many book sales, you know, how many views am I getting on my TikToks and stuff like that. Like, really just allowing myself to get caught up in this feeling of lack. And one of the reasons I don't like social media is that I think it makes us feel lack. It makes us feel like there is a void that has to be filled in some way. And I know that when I go on social media and I see all these super successful authors who have, you know, 5, 10, 40,000 reviews on their books, it makes me feel lack. And I thankfully am able to pull back enough and to look at that and say, this isn't right and this isn't healthy for me. And thankfully I have a husband who can help me with that as well. So after we had that talk and I kind of took a serious look at what I had been doing and realized I cannot rush this process. Just because other authors, you know, I've seen debut authors recently, first book comes out and they have 1,000 reviews in the first week. You know, 9,000 reviews in the first month. That happens for some people, and those people are unicorns. Most of us are not unicorns, and that's okay. I'm not a unicorn. I have had to work very hard for the success that I have been able to enjoy, and I'm going to have to keep working hard while also being patient and knowing that things will come in time. I saw an image recently, like it was a inspiring yoga image, and it was referring to the patience needed to weather the winter and to get through the winter and then to be able to bloom in the spring. And it felt so pertinent to me when I saw it, because not only have we been weathering a very, very difficult winter here, but I've also been weathering these feelings of lack within myself. And I really finally said, I need to let myself breathe. I need to be okay with a slow pace, and I need to be okay with no book sales coming in or with no KU page reads coming in. And I'm so glad that turned off. And once I slowed down, it completely changed my approach to my writing and my mental health as well. Because when you are constantly feeling like there is a lack within you, it just eats away at you. It eats away at your happiness and it eats away at everything. And like I said, that's one of the reasons that I do not like social media, because as soon as I go on there, it takes me about 5 scrolls and I start feeling it. And we could have a whole video about that, you know, for authors, for people in general who are on social media. So pulling back and not allowing myself to, you know, get caught up in that helps as well. But I appreciate you asking that. I am doing well. I've been through some ups and downs like everybody, but spring is almost here. The snow is starting to melt. The horses are shedding. We're gonna have a 50-degree day tomorrow, which I am so, so excited for. I might even be able to sit on the porch and drink up some sun. And things are going well. My family is well, the animals are well, so I really can't complain. So thank you everybody who sent in questions. This turned into a very long video. I know I can be very long-winded, but it's been like, I think almost 2 months since I caught up with you. So I really wanted to take my time and just chat, let you know everything that's been going on. So at this point, I am hoping to start filming again, but I cannot make any promises because, you know, writing, work, being a responsible adult who pays the mortgage, trying to market my books, doing YouTube on top of it, it's just a lot. And I have learned that I can't balance it all. I can pick and choose, I go with the flow. That's my focus for the year, is just flowing with where my energy goes. So I hope to be back to, you know, making vlogs and videos for you. I obviously have a few, like that ARC services video and the outlining video that I really want to film. And believe me, those are on the very top of my list. So I will get to those as soon as I can. Thank you guys again for being here. As always, if you have any additional questions or requests for content, especially chatty videos, I love chatty videos. Obviously, I could sit and talk to you for an hour. Please let me know. put those in the comments down below. If you are looking for editing or formatting services, please come check us out at www.enchantedinkpublishing.com. We book out very, very fast for editing, so make sure you get to us sooner rather than later. And formatting, I haven't looked at the schedule today, but I think it's booking into kind of late April, early May at this point. So we would love to work with you. That is all I have for you. Thank you again for being here and for spending your time with me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.